Yeah, thanks, Tony. And I'm super glad to be here. I totally agree with you. I can't wait till we can get back in person with our HubSpot user groups. Obviously, I loved being at Inbound and that in-person thing. And it was quite crazy the amount of people that were trying to get into this session. But the people that got into the session, I quickly realized why it was such a hot commodity. It actually probably had almost zero to do with the fact that I was presenting on this topic and it was the topic itself, because I polled the audience a couple different times during the session. And one of the polls was by a show of hands, how many people know who the heck I am? And it might make some people sad. It actually made me happy, but about 12% of the audience even knew who I was as a human. And that meant they were in the seats for the topic that was 4 killer pillar pages and content clusters and strategy tips. Now, just so everybody who watches this in the future does know who I am George B. Thomas. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Twitter, or email. Again, the reason I'm sharing this is because I love questions and I love helping humans with HubSpot. I stumbled into HubSpot in 2012. Literally stumbled. I was working for a small agency in Massillon, Ohio. Our social media guy was like, you need to go to this world's largest webinar by this company named HubSpot. And we're like, who and what? Anyway, we won tickets. I got to hear Gary Vaynerchuk, Brian Halligan, and Dharmesh speak for the first time. And HubSpot was preaching, don't call me a customer, call me a human. And I fell in love with what I think is for the rest of my life, the HubSpot brand, the messaging, and the tool along the way. So inside that tool, I got the opportunity to start to think about, look about things like SEO, pillar pages, content marketing, content strategy, all sorts of wonderful things. And so that led me to, again, this just dump of knowledge that I've been teaching HubSpot users. For 2 years, I onboarded clients onto HubSpot and would teach different sessions around this. And so at Inbound, it just kind of came to a crest and we launched that. So the biggest thing that we need to have is we need to have a content conversation. We really need to have a content conversation, because I have to ask, are you doing the things that you need to do to get the things that done that you need to do? I know, like, read that a couple of times through. But unfortunately, most people will start with this thing that they want to do, but they don't have the foundation that they need to actually get it done. I'll explain that in a hot minute. But there's a mentality wrapped around content creation. It's difficult, it's costly, money and time. And the thing is, if you think about content creation, people and process, but you do it in a vein of thinking about how are we making sure we're doing the things that we need to do to get the thing done that needs to be done, it all of a sudden kind of changes. So when I think about this from a high level standpoint, what does your content production process look like? Blog articles per week, videos per week, podcasts per week, pillar pages per month. Now, the funny thing about this, when I was at my Inbound session, this was one of the polls that I actually asked the audience. And I'll give you the information that I got from this, but I couldn't even really say a week for most of these, because when I said a week, there were very little hands that actually raised for this information. So if I transform you to the answers that people were giving me in Inbound around their content production, and yours might look very similar to this, 4 or more articles a week, there about 10% of the audience raised their hands. 4 or more articles a month, and all of a sudden the hands started to raise. So we got about 70% there. I asked the audience 2 to 4 podcast episodes, and I kept it to a month, by the way. Literally made a joke about how weekly didn't work too well for the last question. So let's keep the rest of these per month. 10% of the audience raised their hand. 6 or more videos a month, 15% of the audience raised their hand. And then I asked this extremely interesting question, at least I think it's interesting. How many of you have 4 or more pillar pages on your website? And 80% of the crowd raised their hand. And I thought to myself, this is why you're in the room, because somebody has sold you a bill of goods, has told you you need to create pillar pages. But by the poll that we're looking at, You haven't created the assets or resources to be wrapped around that pillar page, AKA the content cluster. And so it's probably not giving you the return on investment that you actually expected it to. And so that led us to the conversation of, are you doing the thing that you should be doing? Are you creating enough content, the right content, to build out that content cluster? Are you building it in a way that you're leveraging rich media, not just blog articles, but audio, video? And the reason I bring this up is because I beg you to look at all of your forms that you have. Hopefully you're using HubSpot forms. I mean, this is a HubSpot user group. Go and look at your custom contact property and search for this question for the audience. How do you most like to learn? If you don't have the question, how do you most like to learn as a contact property, with a drop down of I like to read, I like to listen, or I like to watch, or some variation of that, however you want to put it, you are doing your community, your prospects, your contacts, your customers a disservice, because we have to create the content almost in multiple ways or directions so that we can deliver it to them in the way that they actually like to ingest it. Because all of this comes down to, we're creating pillar pages and content clusters to educate the humans past the hurdles they have or to reach the aspirations that they're trying to achieve. And if we're delivering them the wrong type of content, then how are we truly helping them? Because they're really not paying attention. The other thing I ask the audience is, are you going back and optimizing historical content? Now, 99% of the room probably raised their hand that they were optimizing, but that's because they misunderstood the question. They thought I was just referencing optimizing that historical content for SEO, search engine optimization. And while that's important, it's only part of the conversation. Now, again, I started this with, I hope people will start to look at this a little bit different from the type or amount of content that they need to create. But also, I would hope that people would start back at a new starting line in a way to actually think about and start to rev the engine, build the engine, fill the engine with gas around their content production process. And what I mean by that is stop for a minute and actually say, I'm about to create this piece of content. Now, when I say that, I want you to realize I am not thinking about one piece of content. When I say I'm about to create this piece of content, right at the very beginning, I know that I am creating a campaign of content. I am creating a pillar page. I am creating blog articles. I'm creating several landing pages. I'm creating podcast episodes. I'm creating YouTube videos, or wherever I end up putting those videos. I call it a singular thing, but I'm going to create this piece of content campaign. What is the goal? What are the goals? Now, again, I'm alluding to that you might have it be a campaign, because in the HubSpot campaigns tool, you can literally set the goals for views, deals closed, revenue impacted, and you literally have those that you can set. But what are the goals for this campaign of content? What is the broad topic that I want to be known for when I'm building this? And here's the funny thing. One of the most difficult questions that I have found people, they have a hard time answering it, is when I'm doing this training on pillar pages and content clusters, I'll literally ask them, okay, I need you to tell me what are the 2 to 4 things that when somebody searches on Google, Bing, or Yahoo, that you want to be known for? Oh, well, we sell this. No. That's not what I said. I said, what do you want to be known for? If you're going to work on creating content that positions you into a certain place mentally, psychologically, for the people that you're going to help, you don't want to be known for your widget. What do you want to be known for? And so taking time to research that broad topic that you want to be known for, and then understanding underneath that, it's about the specific keywords. And when I think about keywords, I want people to start to think about full funnel keywords, meaning there are going to be conversations that we need to address in the awareness stage, the consideration stage, and the decision stage. So we've got a broad topic, we've got a set of keywords, and we're working from the top of the page to the bottom of the page, working through that, yep, you guessed it, buyer's journey. And all of this can nicely be wrapped up into a campaign. Think about the campaigns tool. It's website pages, landing pages, call to actions, emails, blogs, social posts. It's all the things that you're going to have when you create or promote that piece or pieces of content. So stop and think about how you're actually setting up for the get-go. Think about the amount that you're creating and the rate in which you're creating it. And think about how does your audience actually like to learn so you're delivering the right content. This is what I would beg for you to do with your content strategy moving forward. Now, here is the number one conversation that I have with most people on the internet. And it sounds a little bit like this. But George, content is difficult. And I always get a crack out of this because as somebody who has historically created about 2,000 HubSpot how-to tutorials, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's only difficult when we haven't taken the time to figure out the right people, the right process, the right platform, and the proper cadences, and taking time to think about the exact portion that we just talked about. Because now we're putting the effort where it actually belongs, and we have a streamlined, systemized process to get this content out. Content doesn't have to be difficult. And one thing I would ask you to do is to rethink what historically the story that you've been telling yourself. If you wake up in the morning and say content is difficult, it will be. If you wake up and say content is super easy, it will be. And one of the things that I challenged people from the inbound stage as they were going through this process was, I need you to write two things on your page. One was rethink everything. The second thing I asked them to write is it possible? Because if you come at content in a way that you're rethinking everything on a daily basis, down to the micros of what editor do I use, what, Grammarly or Hemingway do I use, what time in the day do I actually see that I get the most out of myself when I'm trying to create it, you're always rethinking the things. And instead of putting hurdles or roadblocks, content hurdles or roadblocks in your way, you're saying to yourself, is it possible? And the punchline is, the answer is always yes. Anything is possible. We live in an age where when you're trying to create success or significance from the content you're creating, it is possible. But again, it comes down to mindset. So I have a question for you. And in the chat pane, I would love for you to type in feverishly, when you see this word, what do you think of? Again, the word is art. Fundamentally, when I talk about art, you're going to have something that comes to mind. Creativity is coming in the chat pane. Expression, emotion, exactly. These are something that moves me. Oh my God, yes. Right? When you think of art, it is an experience. There's color, there's design, there's inspiration and motivation. It's just this thing that grabs you and takes you from one place to the other. Now, I want you to be ready in that chat pane, because when you see this next word, I want you to put the things that immediately come to your mind. When you hear the word blog, what comes to your mind? Education, yes. Information, yes. Insight, yes. These are all good words. Tips, tricks. Somebody at Inbound yelled out SEO. And I was like, there's your nerd in the room. But at the end of the day, yes, information, insight, tips, knowledge, entertainment. I want you to think about that for a second, though. It's almost like this word loses some emotion compared to when we thought about art. And it's really weird to me, because actually, when you think about art, it's probably very informational to the time period. It's educational because you can learn about the paints and the brush strokes. It actually is going to be very focused, or you're going to get insight out of it. But those weren't the words that you inherently thought about when you did art. But of course, a blog, should it be inspiring? Should it be motivational? Should it be creative? Should it be an experience? The answer is yes. But unfortunately, many times, because we have this mindset of what a blog article should be, it doesn't end up being those things. It ends up being a block of text that nobody really wants to even look at, focused on the search engine, not the searcher. And that just can't be. So again, when you think of the mental mindset, this is why I don't really like to call it a blog anymore. Now, I call it a blog on my website because every human under the planet probably calls it a blog, but I like to think of them as articles. Design the art your humans deserve to interact with. Make sure it's informational and educational, but make sure it's also inspirational, motivational, and moves them from point A to point B to point Z, where they're trying to get to. Again, either against hurdles or towards aspirations. But put a mix of art and love and care and empathy into the things that you're creating, whether it be textual, audio, or video education. If anybody else loves it like Tony, put a love it in the chat pane so I can see that everybody's grabbing what I'm throwing down here today, because I got to get some engagement. Thank you, Kathy. Glad you're loving it. Appreciate it. Nicole, nice, beautiful. So the next thing I want to dive into is strategy is important. Gone are the good old days of creating content, what I like to call willy-nilly style. Now, I use words like willy-nilly because I actually lived most of my life in Montana. To be honest with you, when I was 3 years old, I lived in a one-room log cabin with no running water. By 9 years old, I lived in Spring Hill, Montana, and I rode a pony to a one-room schoolhouse. And now today, I teach people about HubSpot, sales, marketing, and service and technology. It's crazy, but you have to slow down to speed up, and you can't go it alone. One of the things that people will do is they'll think that they can't bring in other experts, internal experts or external experts, but you can't go it alone, and you can't do it willy-nilly. Now, for those of you that are scratching your head and you're like, what the heck does he mean by willy-nilly? Willy-nilly, this is the definition of it: in a disorganized or unplanned manner, or sloppily, right? Or as an adjective, disorganized, unplanned, and sloppy. By the way, this is how I would say between 2011 and today, many businesses are creating their blog content strategies. I once was helping a company, and I bumped against a blog article, and I can't make it up: 7 salads our CEO loves. And I was like, what in God's name is happening right now? Like, this adds zero, and they were not a food company. They were a manufacturer of some technology. And I was like, this is not doing anybody a service. And so you can't just write 1,000 articles on 1,000 keywords and think that it's going to work in today's ecosystem that we're in. The search engines have got a lot more organized, a lot more structured. The searcher, us as humans, have a lot less time. So how can you create the right content condensed into a system that makes sense for both the search engine and the searcher? This is the pillar page and content cluster strategy, because we're linking to the important articles. The articles are linking to the important pillar. And as a user, I'm one click away from finding the next piece of information. And as a search engine, which I've never actually been a search engine, but as a search engine, I can see the whole ball of wax. I understand it better, what you're trying to be known for. Oh, you want to be known for these 2, 4, 6 things. I get it. When people search this in my little box, I'm going to send them your direction. Now, the other thing that I like to talk about when it comes to this content creation process, if we're going away from willy-nilly, if we're replacing the historical way that we've done it, what do we have to do? Well, in this case, what I like to talk about is how many of you might need an SOS. Somebody send some help. We need an SOS. Now, when I say SOS, I mean something very specific. I am talking about from here on moving forward that when you create a piece of content, every piece of content, you're focused on it being servant based, meaning it's about humans. It's about the hurdles and aspirations. Literally on my website, one of the lines that I love most on georgebthomas.com is humans over HubSpot, because it really leans into the fact of caring, of empathy, of love, of leading to a fix or an aspiration. You are being of service to the community, the contacts, the prospects, the customers that you're trying to create that content for. The other thing is optimized. And again, I asked this on a previous slide. Are you optimizing historical content? I don't only mean for SEO. When I say optimized, I mean optimized for sales. Do you have the conversations happening on the page, in the video, or on the podcast that are the questions that people are asking your sales team? Above that, do you have templates and snippets that a sales team can actually grab a hold of that share out multiple articles, multiple podcasts, multiple pillar pages if needed, streamlining that content usage? So again, optimizing your content for sales. The other thing is, yes, optimizing for SEO, making sure you're following SEO best practices, making sure that you understand that HubSpot has a SEO recommendations tool that you can run at any point in the day, and you can see all the things from on page to experience to security that you should be fixing. It literally is a roadmap that you can optimize your SEO and see if it's going the way it should. And then optimizing for social. Are you, or do you have a process to get this information out of your home base onto social media? And last but not least, is it optimized for the human? The moral of the story here is it optimized for future conversations? Is it optimized as collaborative content between you and the folks that have actually brought it to life, and you and the folks that are actually ingesting it into their life? Many of you need to think about service-based and optimized content, and then strategic. Ladies and gentlemen, so many times marketers and teams that are creating content, they're so busy trying to get so much done. But what we have to do here is we have to slow down to speed up. We've got to come up with this great strategy. We've got to understand what are the right things to create. And again, I used to say write, but it's create. It's audio, it's video, it's textual. But you got to slow down to be able to actually build that moving forward. One of the good things is I'm going to show a tool that you can actually get access to that helps you slow down, helps you go through this process. So when you go to create a piece of content, I want you to think, George B. Thomas wants me to add a little SOS to my content strategy. Now, at Inbound, I got the opportunity. It was a 90-minute workshop, so I got to talk about what I had been teaching historically for the past 10 years and what I was thinking about in the future. Unfortunately, today, I can't really talk about what I'm thinking about for the future. It's important. Maybe it's another one down the road that I come back and do. But right now, I want to get you what I've been teaching historically, because it has been one of the most impactful things that I've talked about behind closed doors, that I'm super excited to just talk about the entire world in a way that they can actually go about this content creation process. So we're actually going to dive into the things that I've been teaching. And again, this is clusters, this is pillars, this is process, and it's a repeatable process so that you can get known for the important things that you need to be known for. And I'm going to share a tool, which is this pillar page quick start that I've created. Now, with that, I'm going to actually stop the slideshow for a hot second. And I'm going to tell you, anybody that's interested in getting that pillar page quick start to go along with what you're trying to do in the future, just go to the georgebthomas.com/inbound 2022. You'll be able to download it with ease. But let's start right here, because this is where you should start. You should start building the framework, slow down to speed up, and build the framework for what it is that you want to be known for. Now, in the case that I'm sharing with you today, I want to be known for hoodies for men, maybe hat and hoodies for men, and especially orange hat and hoodies for men. All jesting aside, though, I start here because I'm starting to build the architecture, and I'm starting to do some research around this pillar page and content cluster that I'm building. So I will come in here and I'll add hoodies for men. This will be my pillar page. Eventually, it'd be hoodies for men, an ultimate guide, XYZ, for whoever it's going to be. I don't know who it's going to be for, but anybody that likes hoodies, I guess. Then I'm going to start to think about the topics that I want to talk about. 7 best men's hoodies for summer, plus some cool tips. Why men's hoodies are the new wedding tuxedo. Yes, I'm going to try to pull that off sometime in the near future. 4 strategies to prevent your girlfriend from stealing your hoodie. Now, that's valuable information. And of course, I'm jesting here, but this is an example. This is an example of what you would create as a framework. Now, the next thing, and again, at Inbound, I almost didn't put this in the slide, but I was amazed that only about 17, maybe 18% of people use or knew about this tool. I will start here. The next place I will go is to answerthepublic.com. And I will literally do a search in the United States or wherever you're from for the thing that I'm trying to be known for, the thing that I want to rank for. And in this case, it's hoodies. So I immediately get things like, can hoodies shrink in the dryer? Oh, yes, they can. And it sucks when they do, especially if you're a bigger dude like me. You're like, no, it was my favorite hoodie. Or why hoodies are better than jackets, because they don't have a zipper. That's why. Anyway, I digress. But really where I go is to the actual data. In other words, there are alphabetized keyword phrases that I can go through and look at. Can hoodies have zippers? Or are hoodies supposed to be baggy? Yeah, they are. Just throwing that out there. But here is almost all the information that I could ever want. And notice will, who, why, which, when, where. All the information that I can then come back and start to do more research in HubSpot with the pillar page and the content cluster tool. Once I get this to where I think I know where I'm headed, I have to do the next phase of research that is vitally important. And that's I go out into the jungle, the wild. I go to Google and I search the term that I want to be known for, hoodies for men. What I'm looking for is I want to know if there's any other competitors. And by the way, I don't mean direct competitors, like another agency or another hoodie manufacturer. When I say competitors in this space, I am talking about competitors that are talking about the same topic that I want to be known for. And I'm looking for the pages that they're creating. So for instance, I find this page, 21 best hoodies. Man, think I didn't read this? I took time to read this, which you should too as well, because what you're going to do is you're going to find the top 8 to 10 search results. You're going to read each one of those 8 to 10 search results, and you're going to be marking down notes, what they talk about and what they don't talk about. Because when you create your piece of content, you're going to want to have all the conversations. So for instance, if we're talking about a pillar page around dining rooms, you would want to make sure that it was dining room tables, dining room chairs, dining room hutches. You'd want to do dining room rugs, dining room lighting, modern dining room versus traditional dining room. All the dining room things would be the conversations that you would be paying attention to. In this case, it's all the hoodie things that you would want to be paying attention to, because What I'm going to do is I'm also, as I'm reading them, I'm going to use a tool where I can grab the word count and I'm going to start to come into my quick start pillar page tool. Now, in here, what I'm going to do is what's the keyword or topic that I'm trying to rank for? In this case, hoodies for men. Now, remember at the very almost beginning of this, I talked about the buyer's journey, awareness, consideration, decision. I need to take them from not knowing anything to knowing that I'm the best place, or at least the biggest thought leader around hoodies for men. And then I can talk about my products, services, and my company at the end of that. That's exactly what this top bar does. If you look at the things that we're saying, what is it? What problems does it solve? Why is it important? Who is it for? What does it cost? How does it work? And I can continue to go across here and see that what does end results and success look like? Literally, this top bar is awareness, consideration, decision. And you're going to leave little notes for yourself. What is it? Hoodies are a dope type of clothing. Of course, you would probably add more notes than this. What problems does it solve? Comfort and warmth. Why is it important? Because being cold sucks and having no style is even worse. Who's it for? Cool cats like George V. Thomas. What does it cost? Well, it depends. Are you going to buy a cheap hoodie, an expensive hoodie? Is it going to be a customized hoodie? Is it going to be embroidered? Is it just going to have like silk screened? Like, it depends. But at least answer that question. I'll get about answering these questions. But then what we can do, and again, if we slide over, we can start to think about the top 8 to 10 search results. We can start to think about those word counts. And what we're looking for is what is the average word count for the top 8 to 10 pages. By the way, before I get hate mail, I am by no means saying if that average word length is 7,292 words, but that's exactly what the words have to be on the page. What I'm saying is it gives you some type of target that you can start to think about. Will you be able to address it and rank with less words? Maybe. Depends how succinct, how specific, and how well you know that piece of content. Also depends on how much types of rich media you might use. It also depends on how optimized for SEO your website is across the board. There's a lot of things that are going to matter, but at least it gives you, if you in your mind want a 2x, 5x, or 10x, the leaders in search, your search competition. If I want a 2x this, we're doing, 14,000, 21,000, whatever. If I want to 10x it, way more than that. Once we get to that point, now we can start to think about our business, subtopics that we might want to talk about. Again, going back to some of the things that we might pull from this Answer the Public. So in this case, what we are doing is we're saying hoodies for men, hoodies for women, how to fold hoodies. Are hoodies supposed to be baggy? And I about lost my mind when I saw this one. What hoodies does Eminem wear? Yo, people, I am reaching out to Eminem. I'm going to do an interview with Eminem and ask him about his hoodies because that's collaborative content. Imagine the content confetti that I could create on social media platforms by interviewing Eminem on the types of hoodies he would wear. This pillar page is going places, baby. Now, the other thing that I have to pay attention to, though, is products. I sell purple hoodies. I sell orange hoodies. I sell zippered hoodies. I sell pullover hoodies. So what products and what services? Hoodie repair, hoodie customization. Hell, I'll pay somebody to put the string back in my hoodie when it comes out in the wash because that's the bane of my existence. Like, why does that always happen? I'll look at the dryer and you can hear me go, no. And my wife knows, oh, drawstring out of the hoodie again. Terrible. It's a terrible thing when it happens. But you can get your products and you can get your services all lined out here. Now, what you're going to start to do is this is how you're going to generate your content strategy over the next 3, 6, heck, maybe 9 or 12 months. Because now we can go, what's the cost of hoodies for men? What's the pros and cons of hoodies for men? What's the best hoodies for men? What's the problems with hoodies? What's the reviews? By the way, this is not my idea. If you have not downloaded on Audible the book or purchased the book, They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. These are the 5 things that people search right before they're about to make a purchase. We always search for cost because we want to know how much it is going to cost us, or at the lowest rate that we can get it for. We want to know the pros and cons because we want to be an educated consumer that makes the right decision. We want to know the best, not because we want to buy the best. We want to know how close to the best we can get. We want to know the problems because if there's going to be a lot of problems with pullover hoodies, well, then we want to buy zip up hoodies because maybe we need to like easily escape our hoodies. I don't know. I'm comfortable with my hoodie. I want to stay in it all day. But the answer here is They Ask You Answer, and it's paying attention to these 5 ways that people search before they're about to purchase. And we literally turn each of these subtopics, products, and services into working blog article titles inside of this. So now what we have is we have this top line where we can build the awareness, consideration, and decision conversation. Also, by the way, let's pay attention down here to that we have conversion points, case studies, videos, articles, graphics along the way. But we can build this journey that people actually want to go down and get educated from awareness, consideration, decision. And we can launch that version 1, and we can come back, and as we write blog articles and as we write product pages and as we create landing pages, we can come back and add teaser copy, additional paragraph or 2, and link out to these new blog articles and pieces of the conversation that we're building over time. That's the biggest hashtag fail that I see people do, by the way, is they'll treat creating pillar pages and content clusters like they did historically with website design. We work for 3 months, we launch it, we say great job, and we freaking forget about it instead of optimizing and adding to over time, because Google, Bing, Yahoo, DuckDuckGo, they love content that is updated over time. So getting that version 1 is great. Getting to version 22, even better. So build it over time. Now, when I get to this point in the training, usually people are a little freaked out. I don't know if you are or not. Let me know if you're hashtag freaked out right now in the chat pane or if you're doing good. Now, the reason that most people, and everybody's just quiet, like I must have put them all to sleep or something. I don't even know what's going on right now. But the reason most people freak out is because of this thing. I've said multiple times, it might be 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 words. And people are like, oh my gosh, how am I going to create something that has 5, 10, 15, 20,000 words? And how am I going to get those people to actually go down the page? How can I create a streamlined process? George, please tell me, what the heck does it look like? The good thing, this gets you to 15, 20, 30,000 words easily, this document you're looking at. But let's talk about what it could look like. Again, from conception to creation, pillar pages and content clusters. I like this example right here, and I have a couple examples that I'm going to share as we kind of close this out. One, when I get to this page, I know that it's rewarded video ads. That's the main topic. The idea here is people know exactly they're in the right place for the right thing. They also want to know if it's the right, like they're the right person on this page. Also, pillar pages have lead conversion tendencies. Now, they're not a landing page, although I would suggest that you actually build them on the HubSpot landing page tool instead of the website tool, because on the landing page tool, you'll get conversion metrics around something that I'm going to talk about here, where right now we're just getting them the ability to download the PDF version of this. It can be super simple as far as design. It's just the copy on the page in a way that they can take it with them, okay? Now, a couple of things they could do better. One, I don't like the fact that it's just email. I think it should be first name and email. You do not want a database full of no names. So first name and email, and then download your PDF, get it today, something along those lines. But it is, you're in the right place, you're the right person. And if I can do this service for you and you want to take it with you, feel free to convert on it. Now, after that, we're going to use color blocks to create a experience. We're going to have paragraphs that are easy to read. Notice they're not real wide. They're actually kind of nice and condensed. because our eye doesn't have to travel as far, it doesn't get as tired quickly, and we're willing to go down the page further. Also, notice how they're treating the titles almost like artwork. The links to the blog articles, landing pages, and other content clusters are easily distinguishable from the text that are actually around them. Table of contents is vitally important. Now, why is a table of contents vitally important? And why is this table of contents actually failing where some are actually doing good? I'll explain. I need you to think historically about how you have diagnosed value in historical content before pillar pages, AKA blog articles. What most of you would do is you would scroll through the page, you would look at the headings, the H2s or H3s, depending on how people built their articles. But hopefully, by all that is holy, it was the H2s. You would find an H2 that intrigued you. You would dive into that section and you would read that section. If that section added value, you would scroll back up and you would read the entire article. It is a phenomenon. And every time I teach it, people are like, yep, that's what I used to do. You cannot ask a human to scroll 5, 10, 15, 20,000 words to diagnose value. So a table of contents, the number one purpose for it is I need people to see the value in number 2 or the value in number 6 or the value in number 9 immediately and be able to actually click and jump down to section 6. Now, the place where this page needs some help is when I'm in section 6 right now. Please, somebody help me. I need a life vest or a little buoy. I don't know how to get back up to number 1 unless I just sit here and scroll and scroll and scroll. So I wish that this table of contents came along for the ride and I didn't have to come back up or go down to the section. I could just click something. I'll show that in a little bit. But again, treating the title like artwork, easily readable colors to change up the pattern here. Now, image, finally, we see an image. I wish there were some images up here. I really wish there was some video up here, to be honest with you, but we're breaking up with image. We've got color blocks. I want you to think about image, iconography, quotes, tweets, anything that you can break up the reader's experience so they keep wanting to journey down the page. Now, another example of this, I love this pillar page. The ultimate guide to finding office space. I would probably change this a little bit. Office space, your ultimate guide to finding what you need, because then office space, the keyword that I'm trying to rank for, is front loaded in the title. The other thing they're doing absolutely amazing here is the subline. Everything you need to know before you start to search for office space. However, I would tweak this a little bit because it would be everything you need to know before you actually make the biggest mistake that you're going to make, whatever that be for the thing that you're doing. You have to immediately kind of paint the pain point so that they realize that you're going to address the pain points and help them pass the hurdles for the things that they're trying to do. Again, table of contents, diagnosing value. The good thing as I scroll down, notice table of contents is actually sitting here. So if I were to engage with this table of contents and go to chapter 4, I can quickly come up here and go back to chapter 1 with ease and be back at the top. So something that either is at the top like that, or I'll even show an example that might slide down the sidebar with you, is super dope. Another thing they're doing great here, they're humanizing their content. Chris Perry is about to take me on a journey to find the best office space in the world. Now, again, could they do better? Yes. Oh my God. First name, please. I don't want a database with no name people because I want to use personalization tokens in my email so I can email what feels more like one-to-one instead of one-to-many. Also, please do not submit. It's the most robotic marketing. Like, download your guide, get it today, something that needs to change. But other than that, they're doing great. They're treating their titles like artwork. There's an image in the background. They're using color to break it up. Immediately, there's a video. How to find office space. Guess what? There's probably 5 ways to find office space. You know how I know? Because 1, discovery. 2, search. 3, analysis. 4, it's the same thing in the video. This is for the search engine and the person who likes to read textual content. This is for the person who likes to listen or watch. So we're meeting our audience where they're at. Also, easily readable, distinguishable links going to the content cluster pieces and the pieces coming back to the article, lead conversion tendencies, have an offer for awareness, have an offer for consideration about the middle of your pillar page, an offer for decision, book a demo, download the case studies, talk to sales today, whatever at the bottom, when we're able to talk about ourselves when we get down there. But again, think image, iconography, video, slides, tables, quotes, color blocks. Create a experience that they want to go down as they're entertaining and educating themselves through the use of this content. Last but not least, and I'm going to try to leave some room for some questions or maybe give you a little bit of time back in your day, not a whole lot because I see that we're closing in on time. A third example is something like this. And by the way, the reason this is truly as an example is because if you want to learn more about what I think on this topic, this pillar page on my website covers it. This is the last SEO content strategy guide you'll ever need. Now think about psychologically what that does, right? If you're a growth marketer, hey, you're the right person. If you're trying to drive more traffic, ooh, those are things that I want to do. You're in the right place. By the way, want to read this ungated guide later? First name, email, and download it now. Now that is a way to go. Immediately humanizing it with a video. Immediately having a table of contents. By the way, as you scroll down, look what happens with that table of contents. It just sticks with you through the entire piece. Easily readable. Titles like artwork, blocks of color or change of color, images, and we'll, of course, update and add to this pillar page as we move forward. But the idea here is, how do I stop and slow down? How do I understand truly what my business or my clients want to be known for? How do I create a strategy that is an entire full funnel lead conversion, attracting traffic process? And how do I build it around a singular pillar page, the content cluster that I need to create, the lead conversion points throughout it, and the conversations that sales and the rest of our departments will have long after they've gone through that journey. Now, I'll go ahead and kick this back in, and we'll go to the next slide here. Maybe. And again, if you have questions on the topic that I've covered today, there's LinkedIn, there's Twitter, there's my email. You can connect with me, and I will just ask if there's any questions about pillar pages, content clusters, or your SEO content strategy. And you can probably do it in the chat pane, or Tony, I don't know if there's a way that they can actually unmute themselves and ask. I'm open to either way.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. If you can unmute yourself and you're comfortable, by all means. I'm not sure what this is a new platform for me.
No worries. So Renee, I'll go ahead and answer yours. And by the way, if you guys cannot unmute or whatever, just let me know and then put your questions in the chat pane. I love this question. Do you see any difference or main differences between B2B and B2C? Renee, my answer to that is no. And let me explain something first. One of the other things that I do in life is I do the Marketing Smarts podcast. It is a B2B marketing podcast. We only talk B2B strategies, and we talk about pillar pages over there. We talk about content clusters over there. Because here's the thing. If I could change one thing in the world, there would be no B2B and there'd be no B2C. And I know it sounds trite, and I know you've probably heard it before, but it would be H to H. Because at the end of the day, it's humans to humans. There is no sentient building that is buying the products and services that we offer. So this strategy, this tactic, this way of educating and communicating works across the board. Kathy, thanks for that daggone standing. Love it. Do I have other training videos on your website? I am working on other training videos, not necessarily on the website, but on the Hub Heroes YouTube channel. That is where all the video content is going to be. Or you can check out the Hub Heroes podcast, where we talk about these things as well. Renee, you're welcome. Yes. Are there other tools like answerthepublic.com you would recommend? SEMrush, any tool that you've probably heard of. You can use that. Neil Patel has another one that's like, I don't remember the name of it, but again, yeah, Uber Suggests. Great. Yes. So any of those, SEM Rush, Answer the Public, Uber Suggests. By the way, one of the things I didn't say in this, but you can do it's just out there, is you can use Google and play the alphabet game. So for instance, one time I generated 246 video ideas around HubSpot, and I simply went to Google and I typed in HubSpot and then an A, HubSpot and then a B, HubSpot and then a C, and it literally gave me the top 5 to 6 search results for HubSpot and whatever that letter was. And then the other thing you can do is go down to the bottom of Google and it's going to say suggested search based on the search that you just did. That right there will get you a ton of information, and it isn't even a paid SEO tool. It's just going to the source. If you would be so kind to share the link to the pillar page, quick start, just go to georgebthomas.com/inbound 2022, and that'll allow you to actually download that pillar page quick start. It's not actually, okay, I should probably read the question out loud. Mary, our staff always wants their pillar pages to not look like our brand / website. How important is it to keep style aligned between pillar pages and website? So the quick answer is it depends. Obviously, I don't want somebody to go through an entire pillar page and not know who the provider was, the fact that we might offer products or services around it kind of towards the end. But remember that pillar page is also linking to some of the subtopics. And so those subtopics are going to be your blogs. They're immediately going to be on more branded pages. But a great example of this is look at the page that HubSpot did around bots. It doesn't look like HubSpot at all. It looks like some sci-fi movie trailer. But it's a HubSpot page and it looks so totally cool. Pillar pages actually is the one place where I'd say you could push against the lines and actually do creative things to create experiences. But again, don't push so far that you lose your entire identity. That's how I would answer that. This is awesome. What are your favorite tools for keyword? SEMrush, Uber Suggests, Carl, and Answer the Public, Google itself. Those are my favorite tools. Yes, Tony is going to share the recording and slides. I can give anybody the slides. What's fun is when you go to that georgebthomas.com/inbound 2022, you'll actually be able to download my entire presentation from Inbound as well. So you'll even see more information. Oh, that's a great question. Carl, how would you organize a pillar page in a website navigation? The best way that I found, 2 different things I love to do. One, on your main navigation, you're going to have a tab that says resources. Under resources, you might have your blog and other things. But one thing you can do is have a list of the pillar pages, the things that you want to be known for in that navigation. As a matter of fact, if I escape out of here and I come here, notice resources and then SEO content strategy guide. That's my pillar page. If I bring up another example, right here, if we go to knowbefore.com, notice resources, key security topics. By the way, that should be a hint of what those are. Topics are pillar pages. Security awareness, social engineering, phishing, all of their pillar pages are living right here inside of that resources tab. So that was a great question. Mary, you're welcome. Maureen, I'm glad you had fun. Glad you enjoyed the info. And Carl, I'm glad it was perfect. Tony, anything you want to do to close this out since we've gotten through the questions?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for joining us. Really, really appreciate it. Like I said, we're going to be back once a quarter, at least with these types of meetups. We won't be in person until next year, unfortunately. So thank you so much for tuning in. And of course, thank you to George for all that amazing education. It was everything I hoped it would be. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you at the next one.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.